Thank you all. First, I'd like to thank Charles for forwarding my name to James, and James for agreeing to have me here. Karun and the rest of the JRSP staff for facilitating these presentations. Is quite amazing. Paul said mentioned the generosity, and it's just apparent everywhere. So just some housekeeping. I chose a presentation platform that doesn't really sync well or interface well here. So if I'm having any trouble, it's my own fault. It has nothing to do with Lee. And then after also a number of wonderful conversations with some of you, I realized that I haven't actually included a whole lot of my own work in this talk because I'm dealing a lot with the science end of why I do what I do. So I'll just direct you to my website, which is myname.ca, scottmassey.ca. There's a bunch of stuff there. It's a terrible website. It was meant to be temporary. That was 3.5 years ago. So yeah, and then I also recognize that there are a number of different faith perspectives in the room here. I was brought up by fundamentalist Christians, and this did not go well for me. So I have matured out of atheism into skeptical agnosticism. So that's just my position. Okay, so we'll have time for questions at the end, I know, but I also invite questions at any point. I love questions midstream. They kind of allow you to flush out maybe some ideas that are more opaque than they should be. So quickly, a little bit about me. I live and work on Bowen Island, known as Naquelicum by the Squamish peoples. Currently, I'm pursuing my Master of Fine Arts at UBC, obviously as a mature student. I completed my BFA at Emily Carr University of Art and Design in 2003 and have pursued art professionally since then. I won't go through all these other things. I'm currently a public art planner with the City of Vancouver. That's a part-time role. I kind of go half and half with my own work and work with the public art department. And until very recently, I was the chair of the Bowen Island Public Art Advisory Committee. And until COVID shut things down, I was the director of Terminal Creek Contemporary on Bowen Island, which was the first and only critically engaged gallery that Bowen had ever had. So that's me. Okay, so getting into it. You know what? I can't believe this. This whole time I was supposed to be playing this. Let's see if it's working. Yeah, okay. Great. Maybe the interface there will shut off. So art, science, awe. Exploring notions of the secular sacred. The history of astronomical sciences has been one of discovering a continually diminishing preeminence of our place in the universe. So our old gods, to me, have grown equally insignificant. This continual diminution stands in opposition to the assertions of dominance proposed by our anthropocentrism. Religion as a whole is an essentially contested concept covering a range of socio-cultural practices such as morals, beliefs, prophecies, ethics, and worldviews. Another word for worldview is cosmology. Every society has a cosmology, and often many in conflict at any given time. The cosmology that I ascribe to and that my artwork seeks to understand and reflect is informed by science, particularly astro and quantum physics. Let's see if I can move this ahead. Oh, really? Okay. See, I ridiculously plugged in a video to a slide presentation, and now it only plays the whole thing as a video.
You can move it along.
Oh, would you mind? That would be great. We'll just go to the next slide, Lee. It's quite a ways away. What you're seeing here actually is the evidence, the result of an artwork that I will get to a little later. So I just wanted to start with that because it is a bit of a performative sculpture. I'll get to that a little later too. While Lee is finding that, how have we been diminished? I have to get to this next slide. Sorry. My most favorite image ever is here at the top left. Does anybody recognize that image? It is not. Close, though. Yes. There you go. Thank you. Paul has it. The Hubble Deep Field image. So why is this interesting? So the Hubble Space Telescope was pointed at a tiny region of space about the size of a tennis ball from 100 meters away, just like minuscule. This region was chosen because, as far as anyone knew, it was vacant. It was just darkness. But the Hubble telescope remained fixed on this void and took 342 separate exposures over 10 consecutive days. And look what was revealed. This is over 3,000 galaxies. They are so far away that they appear young because the light that left them was only just reaching us now billions of years later. Because light has a finite speed, looking into deep space is looking into the deep past. Remember that before 1920, astronomers believed that our universe consisted only of our Milky Way. It's not that long ago. Imagine that the amount of information and knowledge we've gained in just a short period of time. But I want to quickly, we can go to the next one, Lee, thanks. I want to quickly show you a series of works premised by the Hubble Deep Field image. So this is an example of how my interest in reading in various scientific disciplines percolates through and maybe eventually becomes some artwork. So this is my very slowly ongoing work called Via Lactea. Each of these images is created by photographing hundreds of very small sections of the night sky on a single segment of Kodak Ektar film. I always keep a film reference in my works because I work mainly with analog photography in my artwork. I use a Hasselblad camera because of the mechanical properties of the Hasselblad allows me to manipulate it in ways that I can expand photography beyond a single image. So the camera is affixed to a motorized equatorial mount, which counteracts the motion of the Earth, keeps those star points rather than lines or arcs, usually, is how that works. So this labor-intensive process is carried out in very remote locations, usually often in dark sky parks, which are important, and under a new moon to avoid any light pollution. So it's really just the light of the stars. The completed images are not representative of the night sky in its entirety because they're like the Hubble Deep Field. They're a built up layering of exposures. So astronomers wouldn't recognize any familiar patterns in these star fields, but individual objects such as the Orion Nebula appear, as well as you'll see the detail at the top right there is actually. Sorry, I'm just going to. So this is here, okay? So you can kind of see this doesn't really register the detail here. So I'm giving you this detail to show you like how much is actually being captured by this layering effect of the photos. So that was a meteorite flash. It was the only time it ever happened to me in Joshua Tree National Park. I saw it happen, and I wasn't sure if the camera was actually pointed in the right spot, and it was. And to me, it was just like a little magic moment there. The blue you see here is not the blue of the actual works, I want to say. This blue is, it took an incredible amount of time working with a very accomplished printer to get the blue that is actually the blue in the works, because this blue is out of gamut of digital screens. So this isn't actually what the work looks like. And by inverting the normal scanning and processing, I'm able to achieve the illusion of seeing the stars on a luminous blue background, which is like a lovely reminder that the stars are still out during the day. We just can't see them. We'll go to the next one, Lee. Thank you for driving. So, although I am deeply fascinated by astronomical science, I am not a scientist. I am an artist. And so there remains also the question of awe of the spiritual. For a great many scientists, these domains are not absent from their work. Einstein was decidedly spiritual, though pledged allegiance to no God. he has said, I maintain that the cosmic religious feeling is the strongest and noblest motive for scientific research. I love that. In an effort to explain this statement, he also said that those who have glimpsed something similar recognize the nobility and marvelous order which are revealed in nature and seeks to experience the totality of existence as a unity full of significance. It seems to me that the most important function of art and science is to arouse and keep alive this feeling in those who are receptive. Carl Sagan is another big influence for me. Skeptical agnostic is his phrase. I stole it from him. I love it. He was also deeply spiritual, filled with awe at the discoveries of modern astronomy. He sought to synthesize the spiritual perspectives derived from the revelations of science and espoused a reconnection with true theology, not of a narrow religious sort, but of the expansive, knowledgeable awe that comes from understanding our insignificant and rarefied place in this universe. I feel like we're just witness to the grandeur. So my own work likewise seeks to discover, assimilate, and synthesize the revelations of science through the realms of art. As our director James has asked, can non-religious art be sacred? Not only do I believe it can, I believe it can bring forth the conditions by which we, the viewers, might grasp, if even for a moment, something numinous in this thing we call existence. So my talk is going to trace these ideas through astrophysics and the resulting cosmological paradigms that inform our current understanding, while also relating this wondrous cosmology through the perspectives of art. We can go to the next one, Lee. So broadly, my work exists at the intersection of art and science, obviously, informed by a deep interest in astrophysics, physical cosmology, geochronology, and deep time. These disciplines are interrelated on many levels, and the evidence they seek to uncover represents a fundamental search to comprehend the structure of matter, the nature of time, and our place in the universe. I make art that points rather indirectly to these disciplines, utilizing some of the aspects of their methodologies to accentuate natural phenomena in subtle ways to produce my work. My practice is experimental, decidedly materials-based, though material is always chosen at the service of the conceptual underpinnings of my work. And so this, people have asked me a number of times over the course of this forum, what do you do? What's your work? And I after 20 plus years, I still do not have an elevator pitch. And part of the difficulty is that my work is not medium specific. Sometimes I'm like, I wish I was a painter. It would be so easy because everybody would understand this. But I'm using media, all kinds of different media, steam, glass lenses, sound, light. These are materials that I utilize to realize my work, and they're not the same all the time. They're constantly changing. So, bless you. Anything could possibly become relevant or necessary to the purpose of realizing an idea. This includes machines, instruments, objects that I incorporate and subvert to create new relationships, eventually leading to something I might call art. Expanded photography and performative sculpture are two phrases that I use to describe the way that these categories may be disrupted when describing my work. This is kind of a crucial aspect to my practice, a methodology I call corruption of the apparatus. Next slide, Lee. A good example of this methodology is my still ongoing project, and I've said that again. Often my works take many, many years to develop. They go through iterations. It's like an experimental physics experiment, and so it goes through these iterations of improvement and evolution. So this work, which the video that was playing at the start is the video portion of this work. The title of it is "The Sun Was Born in Darkness, to Shine for a Time, Only to Return to Darkness." Even our sun has a life cycle. This work reimagines the life cycle of a star through corrupted photographic apparatus, a vintage rotary slide projector, and unexposed process transparency film. So this is film, which, if it's unexposed but processed, turns into black slides, which you can't see through. The projector has been reconfigured with a high-intensity parabolic bulb, so it's that middle left image there. high-intensity parabolic reflector lamp, and an aspherical lens, which focuses the light and heat from the bulb into a sharp point at the film plane, which initiates the birthing of the sun as the carousel is running. So that was the video portion. That's what you see. This cycle of burning keeps repeating during the performance of the work until the carousel is finished. So usually when this work gets exhibited, it is performed, the actual work performs in a small scale until it's finished, and then the video is a larger scale presentation of what you're seeing. It's very expensive, actually, to process a whole bunch of slides these days, hundreds of dollars. So it's like it gets a little pricey to keep doing that. There are four main components of this work. There's the corrupted projector, the projected video. There's an accordion page art book, which is in development right now. The accordion page was decided to kind of mimic or mirror the visual appearance of the carousel of the slides. And then there's also a large grid of macro images. That might be the next slide, Lee, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so we've been taking all of the resulting slides that we're burning, and we've been photographing, viewing them through a microscope and photographing them, and we're creating a whole wall, like a grid wall of macroscopic images of the slides themselves. That image on the top left, when I first viewed that through the microscope, I had this heart palpitation because it actually looked like the squiggly lines, when you look at them carefully, they almost look like cuneiform text, and I thought I was actually seeing like evidence of alien civilizations in my thing. I got all excited. So the combined presentation of the photographic and the sculptural in dialogue is a regular strategy in my exhibitions. My love of the apparatus formed long before I began to appreciate, from a layman's perspective, the experimental side of theoretical physics. The next slide, Lee, would be great. There are so many parallels between experimental art and experimental physics. I come across this a lot as I'm doing research. So the slide on the left shows the Large Hadron Collider. This is the world's largest particle accelerator, 27-kilometer ring tunnel beneath the France-Switzerland border, operated by CERN. On the right is Doug Aitken's Sonic Pavilion, a 202-meter deep hole in which a set of very sensitive microphones were dropped to capture the sounds of the Earth in real time. These sounds fill the space of the pavilion, and there's these lovely the glass panels. It's a little hard to make out in this image, but there's a filter that diffuses and aligns the light, collimates the light entering into the pavilion. So you can, if you look straight out the glass, you see the landscape beyond the pavilion, and if you look askance out of the glass, it's all diffuse. So it's like this gorgeous. I love the sensitivity of this. And then the next slide, Lee. This is another art physics pairing. On the left would be the square kilometer array currently being jointly developed and constructed in South Africa and Western Australia. These are radio telescopes. They're not light-based telescopes. So it actually, if they're receiving radio waves, what's interesting is that if you set up arrays, the further the distance between the arrays, the larger, they all act as one. So even though there's a whole bunch of them, when they're all operating together, even around the world, they essentially become one big antenna. So they're receiving information from deep space in radio signals. And so the larger the distance between them, the bigger the more information, the more sensitive they are. So there's square kilometer array, and then on the right is Walter DeMaria's lightning field, which is a 1 mile by 1 kilometer grid array of stainless steel poles. All the poles are different heights because what DeMaria did was he leveled out the top point of all of the poles as a single plane above the topography of the landscape. So the topography is moving and changing, which causes the distance of all of the rods to change, but they're a single plane over top of it. So there are obvious visual similarities between these large-scale constructed experimental works, but for me, they also share an inherent curiosity about the world and a similar search for knowledge and meaning. Next slide, Lee. One of the foundational frameworks in scientific cosmology is that of deep time. Here are some process picks from a recent series of works that I've done utilizing polished slabs of anthracite coal. Coal is an incredibly fascinating material. I've been working with it now for well over a year. It surprises me every time I have to deal with it in another way, and all these unexpected things occur. It's very labor intensive to cut them, to clean them off. We go by hand and orbital sanders. We get it up to about 6,000 grit, and then we have to spend a bunch of time. Partly I say we a lot when I'm talking about myself as a Gemini, but also my assistant helps out a lot. So we spend a lot of time on this, and then you have to do a whole bunch of steps of polishing compounds and buffing wheels to get it to be a mirror polish. And then we laser engrave. We laser engrave them afterwards, and what happens is the laser engraving actually picks up. You can the very bottom left image, you can kind of see this frozen oily texture in the in that one slab, and it's just incredible. And part of what's wonderful about it is that even just like 1 centimeter of coal could be the equivalent of 1 million years of sedimentary layering. There are 2 important types of deep time that we have evidence for: geologic time and astronomical time. Geologic time investigates Earth's geologic processes, obviously, for definitive science from the past that elucidates a history inscribed into ancient rock and ice. What the evidence makes abundantly clear is that the presence of Homo sapiens scarcely registers at this timescale. Even if we include archaic human presence, stretching back 2 million years or so, it's a very thin line out of scale to the 4,500 million years of the Earth's age. So despite our recent arrival and our possibly brief visit here, what will be our geologic legacy? It's aiming to be embarrassing, frankly. So slide 2, Lee, thanks. So things get decidedly worse for us when we look at things on an astronomical timescale. So now the evidence opens up a period stretching back almost 14 billion years, but this part always gets me really hard. But even this is not the whole picture. This is just the size of our observable universe, where light from distant galaxies can actually still reach us. There is an unknowable region beyond this that we cannot ever see because it's moving fast. It's moving away from us faster than its light will ever reach us. So we actually have no idea how large the universe is. So this is the finished some of the finished products of the coal sample works. Titles are there. As you can tell, I kind of like long titles occasionally. The sunlight that fed the plants that became this massive coal has been traveling away from our star in all directions for 300 million years. Suns from low to high. So this is if you were to take a photograph of the sun's position through the sky continuously for 6 months, so this is the summer solstice at the top arc and the winter solstice at the bottom arc in that middle lower image. That was the reference for the laser etching on that centerpiece. And then on the right is You Are Ever Now, which is a reference to time. Time is, as Einstein's theories of general relativity have shown and proven, is that time changes. It's not, whatever time we're experiencing here is not the time that anyone would be experiencing orbiting Saturn or something, so or any other place in the universe. So we're all situated at the very center of our own individual time cones, which is kind of a scary thought. We can go to the next slide, Lee. Please, thanks. So an obvious anagram for sacred is scared. I feel like how appropriate is that? Sacred is a somewhat problematic word for the non-religious. Associations like solemn ceremony, holiness, the divine, and veneration are decidedly religious, kind of chafe. I do appreciate the secular definition of veneration, however, which is profound reverence and awe. Reverence, respect, or awe. There is something frightening in the experience of the numinous when contemplating deep time. It's a bit of a disorienting weightlessness of the mind for me. I almost feel sometimes released from physical burdens when trying to contemplate that stuff. This slide shows the bluish atmosphere of Martian sunset, which is sitting somewhere in the back of my head as a future artwork. I'd love to find a way of creating atmospheres from other planets on Earth. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I'm going to talk to some smarter people than me. And then a fun exercise in scale. So that's like a speck of dust. We're all stardust. Is halfway between the size of an atom and our Earth. Just a little scale exercise. We can go to the next slide. The next quick segment, Ouroboros. Scale is the context of the universe. We are too puny of presence and time to comprehend a very large latitude of scale. Though, as scientists have developed tools and methods we can use to reach cognitively further, these two slides look awfully similar, and yet they are 30 orders of magnitude different in scale, which is it's impossible actually to think about. So, for instance, if we were able to see the universe at a scale of 10 to the 25, or about 1 billion light years across, it would appear mostly empty with very little structure. And if we went up an order of magnitude to 10 billion light years across, it actually wouldn't look that much different. So despite this immense increase in scale, the difference there is expressed not spatially anymore, but over time. And so my question is it a fundamental state of the universe as a whole, or a fundamental lack in our ability to perceive more deeply? Is the universe empty, or is it filled with stuff we just can't see? So another interesting feature of scale is that our current understanding of quantum realms, when visualized, look nearly indistinct from the aforementioned upper limit of scales of the galaxy. So Carlo Rovelli has written an incredibly beautiful book called The Order of Time, which I have read twice and I'm still going through. It's a little bit hard to grasp. But what he noted, this was a beautiful statement, was that matter is a cloud made solid by our limited macroscopic existence. So unlike the heptapods in Denis Villeneuve's Arrival, one of my favorite movies, we have not developed a suitable language to incorporate the multiplicity of presence, the nows, that exist in the universe. So which is the tail and which is the mouth of the universe? Next slide, Lee. So clearly the demands of astrophysics and cosmology are strong influences on my work as an artist, and the ideas these disciplines uncover help us to understand our rarefied place in the universe. Art also helps us understand our place and guides our thinking, and proposes ways of sensing beyond just the physical, of discovering an interiority of feeling and emotional responses to our environments. As Jeffrey Rubinoff has stated, the purpose of his work and the goal of the park itself helps us attain the understanding of art as a serious and credible source of special insight for the evolution of ideas. Totally agree with this. So sometimes I like to imagine being a photon while I'm trying to get to sleep, which takes me a very long time usually. So photons have zero mass, and so they fall completely on the left-hand side of Einstein's famous equations. They're pure energy. Nothing we know of travels faster than light, but light does have a finite speed, so denoted by that italicized C. And if you imagine being a photon, it doesn't take long to imagine speeding by all the other slow matter. And it's frozen. It's completely immobile. I believe that photons do not exist in time. I feel that time unfolds at the speed of a photon. That's my talk. There's a couple more slides at the end you can go through. Just there are other examples of artists whose work I feel touches the sacred. Some of these are just a smattering of potential artists that I could have chosen now, drawn by each of their works. You can use on those. So, yeah.
Thank you, Scott, for a very well finds. Please late. I'm sure there'll be lots of questions. There were lots of raised eyebrows. Does anyone want to kick us off with a question? Yes. Do you want to? And then Kareem as well. So, microphone.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. So I have a question, please. If I recall, the CERN accelerator in Switzerland, those particles, they've been called God particle. What do you make of that? Is that something between religion and scientific communities?
That's a great, yeah, I love that question. I love that reference. And so apropos for this context. The particle you're referring to is the Higgs boson, which was proposed many years before it was discovered. That's typically the case. Usually theory precedes the experimental evidence to prove the theory. The God particle, I think, I'm blanking on his name, the discoverer of the Higgs boson. Higgs, Peter Higgs? Peter Higgs. He kind of, he doesn't like that term. So that may be one indication of an answer to your question. Essentially, what makes the Higgs boson so important is that it explains why particles have mass. So this is a really important proof to kind of determine the structure of matter. We know that some particles have greater and lesser mass. There's other things like spin and direction that they, I'm not going to get into that, but it was that fundamental question kind of linking gravity to particles to see why they should exist in their position within matter, why they exist there, and we didn't have an answer for that for the longest time. And the discovery of the Higgs boson kind of explained why they existed where they did in the structure of matter. So yeah, whether that's a reference to the force of God, I don't know. That's something else.
So to continue with that, you posed the question, which is are there things we don't see? I think scientists have come with that answer, the dark matter, which is not dark, but it is that underlying matrix.
Yes. Dark matter is really fun because we don't have direct evidence for it, and that's true of a lot of the proofs that we have. We don't have direct evidence for them. What we have is inference, and so we have things that are doing something that point to. So the equations and the theories that are being proposed, there's an endpoint answer, a thing that they're saying should happen. And in a lot of cases, we can't prove that it should or that it's happening like that, but we can look at other things and infer that in fact that is going on. So that happens a lot, and I think that's what makes science so compelling to me. Is that it's never claiming to be correct; it's only claiming to understand what it can prove now. And it's always open to being changed. Yeah.
So the properties of the dark matter indicates that there is something, the properties that scientists discover and inspect. And yet it's called dark matter because it's invisible. And yet artists or scientists, they make a depiction of it. Which is like, modular matrix connected network.
Yeah, that's just, often what you're seeing there is a three-dimensional artist rendering of four-dimensional space-time. Because dark matter, we only think that it's there because we're seeing its effects on the travel, the light traveling through the universe. So light has a finite speed, but it can slow down and it moves in weird directions. So a thing like gravitational lensing, where if a beam of light is going around a very strong gravitational object, it will bend. And that's just Einstein. That's just space time, and so it has to bend. And the fact that it does bend tells us that Einstein was right. And so, yeah, it's the effects on the light coming towards us that we are inferring the existence of dark matter. Dark matter is much like four dimensions. We can't. The closest I think we can come to experiencing or understanding existing in four dimensions is like dreaming, where you can be dreaming in different temporal spaces at the same time. That's like 4D space.
I have a few things to say. One, the encounter of the artistic mind with the scientific mind, or it has been an ongoing, or had been an ongoing interest of Jeffrey's, and indeed he tried to start from the position of cosmology in his work and decided to limit the narrative, I guess the meta-narrative, to the history of life on planet Earth, which he felt was probably good enough for his work, so 3 billion years or so. But he had this ambition of connecting the two cultures. I'm not sure if you're aware of that.
I was not.
Okay, so yeah, there was this ambition to connect the scientific culture and the artistic culture, which was, there definitely been experiments, especially on the artistic side, to be kind of informed by science. So it would be interesting to speak a little bit further about how perhaps that could be some future direction of travel. He proposed a research group actually at Cambridge on transgenic engineering and art. And the source of the credible source of special insight for the evolution of ideas is at the basis, one of the basis of this concept of art as a source of knowledge, which is the overarching theme both of the forums and the educational program of our hopefully upcoming publication series, and indeed of the University of Victoria's endeavors, which you're probably just tangentially aware of here. There's quite a few people from the University of Victoria. So I really thank you for your contribution in this respect. I wanted to touch on and just recall the definition of art that Jeffrey Rubinoff had, which was an act of will in accord with a mature conscience. When I started working for Jeffrey, I wrote a paper on conscience and consciousness. And I came to think of consciousness and conscience on a continuum from cognition to conscience as a sort of way of thinking my way through it, and had the sense that time played a really important part in consciousness, that conscience inherently had to engage with its own action in relation to time and its own valuing in relationship to time. And so that as you grew in conscience, the more you brought time and the value of time, both past and future, into your consciousness and into your actions. So it was sort of a confluence of the maturity of your consciousness or conscience would take into account time and travel through time, both forward and backward. And so your actions would take that more into consideration. So I felt extremely excited when I heard your integration of time as an incredibly important piece, and I wondered, whether this idea of the unknown bringing things that you can't immediately perceive, the multiple nows, right? We don't really have a good language for that, but we can still act as with the value of those multiple nows. So a good example is an orchard. I mean, there's a wonderful orchard here that somebody planted, and we enjoy the fruits today. And so somebody must have acted with the future that was now back then, right? So that we can have a now that's also really wonderful. And so I think that's it's really important to the sacred to be able to act with the multiple nows, even if you can't completely grasp them, but to strive for that, to strive to bring all of those points of time, kind of compress them all into your consciousness. So I really thank you for that.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. The reference to the orchard was amazing. And I think that really is true, that whoever planted that was thinking not of themselves, but of a future that they might not even be around to partake in. And I think trees are wonderful for that because, like the coal for me, trees also, we've counted tree rings. It's, each ring being 1 year in the life of the tree, 1 year of us circling the sun. So they're like the coal, the trees are actually a register of the passage of time, or an embodiment of time. So that's important. I also I appreciate you bringing that importance of the now up again, to refer to that, because I worry sometimes that at the beginning of my talk, when I'm pointing out our continual diminution of importance, I want to make clear that I am not writing us off. I think one of the big takeaways in that for me, and Sagan says this a lot, is that we are here now, conscious beings, able to witness and understand, maybe be the only beings in the universe that can understand just a little bit about what's going on, that we can contemplate this thing called existence. That makes us utterly important. The problem is that we're so narrow-minded as a species that we don't think in large enough terms to be better at managing all this, right? And that's for me the failure and the thing that frightens me.
Scott Kearns, have you ever collaborated with scientists, and is that something that you have both and would like to?
Yes, absolutely. Have I collaborated with scientists? I talk to scientists. My going to UBC was motivated partly on having an access to the facilities there. There's a particle accelerator at UBC. Not everybody knows that. It's wonderful. If you ever want to go on a tour, they have public tours. Access to that sort of thing, access to scientists who are in their own ways delving into interests like this. I like the idea of creating a foreign planetary atmosphere here would be something where I would absolutely have to collaborate with a scientist. There's a bunch of noxious gases for sure, which could be dangerous. So that absolutely is something I hope to do more of at UBC. That was it. Yeah.
Does anyone else have a question? Just start. Yes, Charo, and it got Consi.
I'm sorry. I know everybody's waiting for lunch.
It's not a question. Do you know that Jeffrey's dog, our dog growing up, was named Photon? Fody for short.
No way. I love it. Okay, that's amazing.
Christy, can you...
I was just hoping you could go back to talking about your feelings about protons and time. And maybe that's a conversation over dinner. I don't know.
Over wine. I'm not sure how to elaborate that anymore. I think the speed of light. My daughter actually has the speed of light tattooed on her arm in honor of my devotion to that number. It's a very important number. I'm going to have a matching one soon once swimming season is over. But I think, like, I don't know how to relay how important that is. Like, if the sun stopped working, we've got about 8 minutes and then it's over. Like, everything about existence is predicated on light. And that's just it.
So you take trouble to do. Oh, we're not going to use the
Microphone, Paul.
The whole question of consciousness in the universe, and how, as a skeptical agnostic, how is your feeling about how fundamental consciousness could be, or do you feel that it's just something we have no idea about and we're just speculating?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that's what it's that perplexing question that led me to skeptical agnosticism, because I feel a strong atheistic stance is actually it's full of hubris to me, because it's to suggest that you actually know everything, to say that nothing can exist. And so I can't say that I know everything, and I don't believe that we know everything. And so I'm agnostic skeptically, because I am willing, like a scientist, to say that if we find some evidence, some proof of something called the consciousness of the universe, then I'm going to ascribe to it, that I'm going to have to adopt and change my thinking on it. I'm willing to do that. Right now it's not there, although I feel like that Ouroboros question of the where the very large scales of the universe and the very smallest scales of the universe are all kind of communicating. They are connected. That has been proven, and we just don't understand how that functions. So once we do figure that out even a little bit, I think we'll have a better answer as to what a consciousness of the universe might look like. Yeah.
final question.
It wasn't a question, Funk, and it's also not a comment. It's just a bit. So, sorry, Jane. If anybody else has a question, I did want to say before we finalize this session that I'd like to do a photo, and if people don't want to be in the photo, that's okay. I know some people don't want to, but we traditionally do that, and I wouldn't mind doing that before it starts raining again. And I don't know if anyone here is a photographer, could suggest a specific angle, but.
So do you think that the entanglement could be a proof? It's been proved, the entanglement, as the proof of something existing beyond our knowledge in quantum mechanics.
Yes, absolutely. Quantum entanglement has been proven, and we have no idea how it works. Like, absolutely no idea. So, of course, when we're presented, so that's an interesting thing, because there's some evidence without a theory. So it's the opposite of how it usually operates, right? And so theoretical physicists are trying to explain what has been demonstrated in lab studies, right? Like, that's, I don't know, that's kind of crazy. So yeah, I think that is absolutely going to point us in a direction. Whatever the answer that comes out of that, I mean, that's the beauty of it. It's like understanding a little bit more of what we don't understand always leads us to realizing we understand less and less. It keeps going on. So, but I think it'll point in a really wonderful direction. I kind of am excited to know what happens. It may not be in my lifetime, but could be fun.
Let's discuss the